All right, let's discuss scale. That's the next thing we on our list in this class. What is scale? Scale is a series of notes ascending and descending in pitch. A series of notes ascending and descending in pitch. That's not all about definition of scale. There are lots of definition of scale out there, lots of valid definitions. But the simplest one for us is scale is a series of notes ascending and descending in pitch. Or better, we can say scale is a tonal resource from which melodies and rhythms are composed. And that validates the definition so much. Because just like you cannot spell any word in English without knowing the alphabet, A, B, C to Z, the same way you cannot do anything in music without knowing the scale on that instrument. Like I said earlier, there are different types of scale. So the scale you might be using in your piece of music might not be 7-note scale. It might be just a 3-note scale, probably. Talking drummer has their own different scale, and so on and so. So scale is that thing that enables us to be able to compose whatever rhythm we want to do or whatever melody. So, and then there are different types of scale. We have diatonic scale, we have pentatonic scale, we have blues scale, we have chromatic scale, and so many more. For the purpose of this course, we'll be focusing on the listed scale, diatonic, pentatonic, chromatic, blues scale. There are lots of scales you can still learn out there that you might use someday, be the Arabian scale, Egyptian scale, and so many of them. But for the purpose of this class or this course, we're focusing on the diatonic, pentatonic, chromatic, blues, and blues scale. Now, what is the diatonic scale? The diatonic scale is the simplest scale of all. That's the first scale you learn. Like you are just starting music, that's your primary one, that's the first class you get to. Without that scale, you won't understand any other scale. It is a 7-note scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. But most times, you hear people saying do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, because they tend to land on the next home note. It is called the next home note. That is double tonic. The first note in the scale is always called the tonic. Now, when you now run the scale and say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and you get to another tonic, that is do, I think that's where the name diatonic came from. So diatonic scale is a scale with majorly 7 notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, every scale in music is made up of a particular formula. It is the formula that determines what scale it is. Starting with the diatonic scale, the diatonic scale has a formula tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. That is the formula for the diatonic scale. And we have been able to understand what tone is and what semitone is. So how do we apply this formula? Let's say, for example, we want to form the diatonic scale of the key of C. Key C happens to be the simplest key in music. It is the first key in music because it is a key that requires no sharps and no flats. It doesn't require any accidental. Key C involves all natural notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. How do we now form this scale? We said the formula is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Now, whatever scale you want to form, the first note of the scale, the name of the scale actually will become the first note of the scale. I mean, if we say we want to form the scale of C, our first note definitely, our tonic definitely must be C. Now, when we have our C as the first note, this is where our formula comes into play. To get our next note, we bring out our formula. The first formula says tone. It means we're going to make a tone interval movement. So from C, if we are moving a tone, we will get to where? D. Because from C, we will get to C sharp, a semitone movement, and then we get to D. That's a full tone movement. We've gotten our D. To get the next note, we make use of our formula again, which is tone. A tone movement from D will land us on where? C sharp and E. So from D to E is a tone movement. We've gotten the other 2 notes. The next formula says semitone. So a semitone movement from E gets us to where? Did I hear you say F? You get it. It's F. The next formula says tone again. From F, If we are making a tone interval movement, we'll land on G because we get F, F sharp, and G. The next formula says tone again. From G, a tone movement lands us where? A. The next formula says tone again. From A, the next tone movement lands on where? B. And of course, the last formula is semitone, which is taking us to the next tonic. So semitone from B will land us where? Did I hear you say C? I think you're right. C is the next note. And that's how the scale, the diatonic scale of the key of C is made up. In this class, there will be an assignment where you will have to work out the remaining scales using this formula. And it's going to be fun, promise. Now, converting this scale to sulfur notation, which most of us have heard before, we're familiar with, we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. That is the diatonic scale. Later in this course, we are going to dissect or explain better what are those hidden notes, those notes we skipped, those C sharps and D sharp and F sharps and G sharps and A sharps we skipped in getting this formula. We'll go in details later in this course. Thank you. I hope